The Berbers are an ancient tribe who are the indigenous people of North Africa. They have lived their lives around majestic mountains and across endless barren deserts. West of the Nile River, in countries such as Morocco, Algeria, Libya, and Tunisia, they established strong communities that have endured through countless eras, even before Islam brought social and cultural transformation. Today, the Berber population is estimated to be around 36 million people. In Morocco, their number reaches nearly 20 million, while in Algeria, it is about 13 million. In addition, there are Berber communities spread across France, numbering around 2 million individuals, and their diaspora extends to countries such as the Netherlands, Belgium, and even the United States. The name Berber is an exonym derived from the ancient Greek word barbaroi, which shares the same root as barbarian. Although the name Berber remains the most common in the Western world, the Berbers call themselves Amazigh, meaning free people or noble people. This distinction is important because the term Berber is often misunderstood as synonymous with barbarian, a negative portrayal that fails to reflect the diversity and cultural complexity of their people. Through the Berber community have emerged great figures immortalized by history. In the modern era, Zinedine Zidane, the world-renowned former football player and Real Madrid coach who won 3 consecutive Champions League titles, is a Berber descendant whose family migrated to France. Another prominent figure, Ibn Battuta, the famous Muslim traveler who left his mark across the world, was also a pure Berber. Meanwhile, Tariq ibn Ziyad, the military commander whose name is etched in Islamic history, led Berber forces in the conquest of Andalusia in 711 AD. His name was later immortalized in the Strait of Gibraltar, which separates Morocco in North Africa from Spain in Europe. The name Gibraltar comes from the Arabic Jabal Tariq, meaning Mountain of Tariq. The Berbers are the original inhabitants of a vast region known as Amazigh. Their ancestors have lived throughout Amazigh for at least 12,000 years. Amazigh stretches from western Egypt to the Atlantic coast, crossing the Atlas Mountains and the Saharan Desert. At that time, the Berbers lived by herding livestock around desert oases, leading a semi-nomadic lifestyle in a harsh environment. Many of them took advantage of the fertile Mediterranean coastline for farming, while others engaged in trade, riding camels across long Saharan routes to obtain gold from West and Central Africa. The ancient Egyptians described the Berbers, their neighbors to the west, as tattooed, bearded men with fair skin. They also tended to look down upon them as primitive goat herders who moved constantly from place to place. However, the Berbers themselves served as warriors for the kingdom of Ramses in Egypt, known as skilled horsemen. In fact, the Berbers once conquered much of Egypt around 945 BC and crowned themselves pharaohs of the 22nd and 23rd dynasties. After 200 years of rule, they were eventually expelled from Egypt, leaving behind a legendary mark in human civilization. The classical civilization that came into contact with the Berbers was ancient Greece around the 7th century BC. At that time, the Berbers practiced polytheism with a pantheon of gods and goddesses influenced by Phoenician, Egyptian, and Greek cultures. More than mere worship of deities, the Berbers had a deep tradition of ancestor veneration, believing that the spirits of the dead held great power and lasting influence. Evidence of this belief remains in the form of grand mausoleums standing along Morocco's coast, sacred sites where ancient Berbers once sought spiritual guidance. In the 3rd century BC, the brave Berbers made history by establishing the magnificent kingdom of Numidia. Together with the mysterious kingdom of Mauritania, it became the first beacon of freedom in the Berber homeland, a symbol of sovereignty that stood proudly, no longer in the shadow of foreign empires. Yet fate had other plans. Around the 1st century BC, the mighty Roman legions set foot in Berber territory, bringing them under the dominion of the vast Roman Empire. Under Roman rule, the Berbers found harmony in the Christian faith. From this era emerged St. Augustine, a philosopher and theologian who laid the foundations of Western Christian thought. By the 5th century AD, the Vandal tribes from Germany invaded North Africa, bringing chaos and change to the Berbers. Amid the turmoil, the resilient Berbers established native kingdoms upon the ruins of the fallen Roman Empire. However, these kingdoms did not last long, for far away in the Arabic deserts, a new power was rising. After the death of Prophet Muhammad in 632 AD, his followers spread across the Arabian Peninsula. Soon after, the Muslims expanded beyond their homeland as some of the most efficient conquerors in human history. In 641 AD, the armies of Caliph Omar ibn al-Khattab, burning with zeal, conquered the Byzantine territories of Egypt. Not long after, their eyes turned westward, toward the fertile Maghreb coasts of North Africa, where the Berbers resided. This conquest was a long and arduous journey that began in 647 AD and was completed 62 years later. In 711 AD, the Berbers, who by then had embraced Islam, joined forces with other Muslim armies and crossed the sea into the Iberian Peninsula. Led by the iron-willed Berber general Tariq ibn Ziyad, they conquered new lands under the banner of the Umayyad Caliph Abdul Malik ibn Marwan. In historic Andalusia, they supported Abd al-Rahman I, also known as Abd al-Rahman al-Dakil, whose mother was a Berber. By the 11th century, the Berbers conquered vast territories from dusty Mauritania to the distant borders of France and formed the legendary Almoravid Empire. From their skilled hands emerged magnificent works such as the Giralda Tower in Seville, the Kutubiyan Mosque in Marrakesh, and the Grand Hassan Mosque in Rabat. However, when the 15th century arrived, the golden age of Berber Islam began to fade. The Ottoman Empire captured Cairo and most of North Africa, marking the beginning of 4 centuries of Ottoman rule over the region. Under this new dominion, Berber culture slowly began to fade, like a dimming star at dawn. On June 14, 1830, the tides of history brought 34,000 powerful French troops to the quiet shores of Algeria, surprising the long-ruling Ottoman Empire. Within weeks, on July 5th of the same year, Algeria fell into French hands, ending more than 1,000 years of deeply rooted Islamic rule. Through cunning manipulation, France sowed the seeds of division, separating the hearts of the Berbers and the Arabs, claiming that the Berbers were the true natives while the Arabs were mere settlers. After a long struggle, Algeria and Morocco eventually regained independence from France and adopted Arabic as their official language. In 1980, demonstrations erupted in the Kabylie region, giving birth to the Amazigh movement, a Berber effort to resist the process of Arabization in North African countries. From this movement emerged the Amazigh flag, with 3 horizontal stripes of blue, green, and yellow, and the red Yaz symbol in the center, representing free man. Then, in 2001, tensions rose when a Berber student died in police custody, sparking protests and demonstrations, particularly in Kabylie. As a result, the Algerian government granted concessions to the Berber population. A year later, Algeria recognized the Tamazight language as the second national language after Arabic, and in 2016, it was granted official status. Since then, the rights of the Berber people have continued to expand.
In Morocco, for instance, the Amazigh language is now officially taught in primary schools.